Thanks, Dan. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and continue on all the way to the end, go over some maintenance features, because as with anything, you know, as we keep said, especially during the supplemental training, real time, we really want you guys to use this stuff in real time, as you do in the real world, for not only reporting, but for tracking, as well as the collaborative processes of broadcasting your inventory locally, regionally, throughout the COC. If it's not, occupancy is not tracked in real time, kind of loses that additional collaborative feature. Now, along with using it real time, of course, it needs to be maintained in real time as well. So if you don't put your changes and as things get added and removed on a fairly regular basis, it again loses kind of that additional slant or feature point of what we're looking for, you know, for referrals, wait lists, reservations, and everything like that. Now we're going to kind of go through, once we've got the inventory created, there's some basic maintenance options that you can do. We're going to kind of hopefully point out the main ones that you can use. Of course, this is a pretty flexible system. I want you to use it as real world as possible. Hopefully we've thought of everything. You know, if you're thinking of doing something, we think we have the feature in there. During the course of inventory usage, items can become what we call no longer available. It happens. Units retire, beds retire. Agencies, you guys need to reflect those changes in the setup in HMIS and actually remove them from being used for client stays. If you physically don't have a bed there any longer and it's in the system, you don't want to be putting more people into it, because that kind of will skew your tracking information. We have basically two different settings in the system to reflect, you know, a bed is kind of out of commission. One is a more permanent one, basically what we call a closed status. And that basically permanently removes any bed that was previously used. We keep all the historical data, all the historical tracking of all the client stays for reporting pretty much forever. Then there's another status that we did put in there. When a specific bed, unit, voucher needs to be temporarily removed for usage. The reason could be, you know, the inventory is undergoing physical maintenance, maybe an apartment's getting painted, or put new appliances in, or a bed's being worked on or being moved. A number of different reasons. We also have a status of what's called unavailable. And this unavailable status kind of works in a twofold. There's a way to manually make a bed or unit voucher unavailable, and what we kind of refer to as blocking it, almost like in the restaurant world where you block a table, you know, for later use. Then you can always bring it back when you're ready to use it again. Now, we also conversely use that unavailable status also for any future inventory. The system not only allows you to put in current inventory, but like things on the HIC that always reports things like future inventory or under development inventory, the system also allows you to put that in with future dates. You know, you say, hey, I know I'm going to have these 10 beds ready in, you know, August of 2014. You can put them in the system. However, of course, since they have a future date, they're going to be set to an unavailable status, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that during this section. The first one is the closed items. When you're no longer going to actively use or no longer have a specific inventory item available, you need to remove it, or what we call close it out of the system. And again, all these actions, kind of maintenance stuff, are going to be done within the edit confirmation screen. This is basically going to be your good friend with inventory updates. Simply, the system will automatically do it. You can't actually just toggle it to closed, because like Dan said, you know, you want to use it in real world. We will worry about all the business rules and everything and kind of take care of the statuses for you. Basically, you enter in when the last day that the bed was used. Of course, the same rules, you know, if it's HMIS participating, of course it must have a corresponding HMIS participating date. You can't close anything in the future, as we said. Everything, you know, should be real time. You know, at the end of the day, if you go, okay, these beds are gone, or this unit's being demolished or renovated or whatever the reason is, you come into the system, you enter it in. the end dates, and you hit save, and the system will automatically change the status to closed. And please note, and we kind of went over this, and it's important to note, not to use the remove feature during this option. Now, the remove feature is only supposed to be used if you kind of add 10 or 11 beds and go, oh, I don't know why I did that. I'm supposed to only have 8. Then you can go and get rid of and remove the extras. But any bed or unit or inventory item that has usage information, it's not going to let you remove it. Now, this is kind of where also the filters come in. While an inventory item, as you see here, will automatically get closed on the screen, when you come back to this screen, this item is going to be gone from your master list. You know, it only shows basically unconfigured, vacant, and occupied unavailable items. But it's still there for you to view. But it's under basically these filter statuses that filter by, like, you know, unavailable, closed, vacant, occupied, unconfigured. To see any of your closed inventory items, you basically filter to closed, and that's basically where you'll find them. Now, you can do that if you just want to review them, or maybe you accidentally closed out a bed, the wrong bed, and you went, oh, you know, it's gone. How do I get it back? Just look under the filter. You'll see it here. To unclose a bed, you know, if it was a mistake, you basically undo the dates, the end dates, hit save again, and it'll be set back to vacant and put back into your normal inventory rotation. Now, a note with closing items. Say you have a new item that you know that you have a bed that you're closing out, then you're replacing it with a new bed. We actually recommend, since it tracks things historically, I mean, you can go and reopen it, but unless it's the exact same item, you know, the exact same physical item, the best process is probably to just create a brand new one in its place. That way, you know, the closed one will have all the usage days and everything tracked with it, with the date ranges. It'll know when it started, when it ended. Then you'll have the new inventory entered kind of in its place. But it'll have a whole new ID, and we'll actually kind of see it as maybe a replacement, but a brand new physical bed. Now, with the unavailable items, like we said, there's kind of 2 different ways to look at it. The first one we're going to talk about is kind of what we call the blocking method. Basically, if you have a bed that you know that you're using, and you know you kind of want to take it out of your rotation for whatever reason that may be, but you know you're not retiring it. You know, at some point in time in the future, you know, and this should be used for kind of a short-term basis. You know, if you know it's not going to be used for years, you know, you probably should close it and then recreate a new one as it gets replaced. But if it's for a short period of time, a week, a month, even a couple months, there's 2 ways to basically set it to unavailable. You can go directly in the edit confirmation screen and basically toggle it, the status to unavailable, and hit the save button. Then that'll immediately, that bed, unit, whatever inventory item will no longer be allowed to be used for usage. So when you go and a client is trying to be checked into a bed, it basically is going to exclude any of those inventory items from those listings. Now, one note that we do want to make about the editing of this information, like toggling things to unavailable, the system only allows you to edit information or set beds to unavailable when they're vacant. So if you've got an occupied bed, we're not going to allow you to just change it to unavailable because it's currently occupied, as well as change any information within it. You know, once it's occupied, it's kind of a static thing. Once that bed gets emptied out and the first people are checked out of it and it becomes vacant, that's when you can go in, make whatever little changes you want. Say you want to flip the household type or change a date or whatever you want to do there, or even set it to unavailable. That's when those options will be available. Same thing with the closed. You're going to be able to close out a bed if there's someone still occupying it. Now, the other option that we have, and it's pretty much the same thing, but instead of going to the confirmation screen, we have that option available basically within the review screen. This, again, is only an agency manager option. Regular users, while they can get to the review screen, won't have this option on their screen. Basically, you go to the individual inventory item, and you click on it, and then it basically, like we said before, brings up the whole configuration, kind of the physical setup predefined setup of the bed, and it'll basically have an unavailable checkbox. It'll be, of course, if it's in circulation, it'll be unchecked. All you have to do is check the box, and then you do need to make sure you hit save. If you check it and hit close, or uncheck it and hit close, or go to another bed or a screen, the system won't actually save that status. So to make sure everybody understands. And then basically, as they become unavailable or come back into circulation, it's easily just go to any review screen link and make this change directly within that review screen. Of course, if it's currently occupied, this option will be grayed out, just kind of like in the confirmation screen. The other way items can be unavailable in the system are those that are entered that are future inventory, also known as under construction, I guess is the terminology on a lot of HUD-based reports like the HIC. As we said before, basically when you're creating a new bed, you can enter the start dates as far in the future as you want, whenever they're going to be, when you think they're going to be available for use. Basically, once you enter in both the dates, same rules here of the requirements, and hit save, the system will automatically toggle it to unavailable, as you can see here. And you won't be able to switch it to vacant because it's a future date. It kind of locks it down. Now, if you want to go ahead and go, oh, well, I made a mistake. It's not in the future. It's actually available now because you're ahead of schedule. All you have to do is change the dates. And as long as it's at least a current day of today or earlier, hit save again. It'll automatically change this label to vacant. So those are kind of like the two different available features within the system. And one can be blocking, one can be because of future dates. On the review screen, while regular users only see completely available inventory, whether it's occupied or vacant, agency managers will see an extra set of beds. They basically have these red highlights around them. Those are beds that are currently set to an unavailable status. Now, it could be because you manually block them, or it could be because they're a future bed, but that's the kind of quick scan that you can get when you're looking at that review screen. And the little unavailable up here will basically keep a count of them. Again, this feature is only available for agency managers and above that are looking at this screen. And one little last thing that we want to kind of talk about is another status that you might see on the inventory review screen. And this is available for all users. This is both for agency managers and all users, is a reserved status. And basically any bed that's reserved through the reservation process of like a referral, when someone sends a referral over and you have available beds, they have the ability to kind of perform what we call a soft reservation on it, or basically kind of a placeholder when they are coming over. Any bed that is currently reserved will basically have a yellow highlight on that. Now, at this time, agency users, at least the receiving agency, the agency where the reservations are placed, you still have complete control over these reserved items. It doesn't mean that you specifically have to put those people in those beds. They're not really reserved for any person. It's not like this bed is reserved for Jim and this one is Mary, and you can only put Jim and Mary in these beds. They're just kind of an identification placeholder that can be overridden by basically putting another person into those inventory items. Just want to make sure that everybody, if they see those on their inventory screens, what they actually mean. Seasonal beds. Since seasonal beds are a little, I guess, quirky, have a little bit different setup than everything else, we just want to spend a slide or two on them for some of our emergency shelter people that use those. Again, they're only for emergency shelters, and they're basically, seasonal beds are those that are on a planned or predefined basis for those periods during the year that they expect increased demand. A lot of times it's over the cold weather months, November to April, those sort of things. Now, they're the only bed in the system that requires both a start and an end date when they are created. Any other inventory item that has an end date will automatically be closed except for a seasonal bed. Now, with seasonal beds, there's kind of some maintenance that needs to be involved with that. They aren't something that you can just set and, you know, they'll always be there and you don't have to touch it again until it changes year after year. Since they do have a predefined date range, they are something that are going to have to be managed on kind of a yearly basis, because since they do have a predefined date range, so say you have like 4 seasonal beds that are going to run from this November till next April. Now, the system is smart enough to know when these can be used. So until the time, you know, say you set a future start date, they'll become an unavailable status until that day, until they become available. Then they'll only be able to be used for usage until that end date. So after April of next year, those seasonal beds will kind of be taken out of rotation. So what you have to do is either go into those seasonal beds, close them out, and then recreate them kind of year after year, or what you can do is reconfigure the dates. You know, jump them out again from next November till next April, and kind of move the seasonal beds as kind of the years go on. So that's one maintenance issue that needs to be done on basically a yearly basis. Just a couple little screenshots about this, kind of how to show this. For seasonal beds, if you do set any seasonal bed in the future, and this also goes for any future inventory item that are set to automatically unavailable, when the time comes, as you see, these are available December 10th, so of course until that time they can't be used. The system, when the time comes, doesn't automatically just put them into your rotation. And this also, like I said, goes for future beds. And we kind of made a conscious decision to do this because we didn't want something where you put in the system and said, yeah, they're going to be ready February of next year. And then the time come and then all of a sudden show up on your inventory. And then people will start using them or maybe reserve them. And in the real world, you were like, ooh, those beds actually aren't going to be ready till April. So that's why there needs to be an actual managerial action to basically put these beds into rotation. So as soon as the time comes, when you come into the edit screen, the unavailable will turn from locked out to unlocked out, kind of like how you manually block a bed. At that point in time, you'll have to manually toggle those items to vacant when they actually become available. Now, you might go in there and move the dates. You know, if it says, oh, it's supposed to be February, it's kind of a guess. Let me move it again till April. You can do that, and the system will again lock it out after you save them. But we just want to make sure everybody's aware that any future bed that's unavailable will have to have an extra step done to put them back into circulation once the actual current day hits those start times. Okay, that concludes the agency inventory setup. Hope everybody enjoyed that setup and everything. It made sense. Now we're going to kind of go into just the regular system features and some client management tools. Hopefully a lot of you guys were in the earlier core and supplemental classes, but what we're going to do is hit some of the high points, what we think are, you know, not so much the functionality, but more of the methodologies that have changed in the system. When any agency manager goes into the system, this is the basic start page they're going to see. And as you see, you know, the basic caseloads, any inventory is going to be directly here on the screen. Now, of course, when they select it here, it'll take them directly to the review screen. They've got pretty much all the functions here. They're going to have a little bit more tools. And here, by contrast, is basically what a case manager sees when you go in. Now, they still have the same information, but the main areas that are different are these records and tools area. Basically, agency managers have a little more extra tools, a little bit extra search for features. So everybody's aware of what each kind of privilege level provides what kind of features. A couple global features want to make sure everybody's aware of. We still have the log out feature. When you're done with the system, you do need to explicitly log out of the system. Failure to do so could result in being locked out of the system. If you try to log in and you get this, you are logged in, you basically have 2 courses of action. You can wait either 20 to 40 minutes, and the system We've actually tried to improve that process to kind of run a batch to check out, who's locked but out of the system. That's why it's kind of a 20 to 40-minute thing. It depends on when the check happens. Or you can just contact myself or Steve at the help desk during normal business hours. Shoot us an email, give us a quick call. It doesn't take more than 20 or 30 seconds to get you unlocked. Trust me, we don't mind. We do this quite often. The other area in the system with data collection is there's basic gold balls next to it. Any user and a lot of these gold balls are in places that are more managerial functions, agency profiles, inventory stuff. We've tried to remove a lot of that stuff from the system because we've opened up data collection, but that's just what these mean throughout the system. Domestic violence client note. The HMI system has been updated to support data collection for victims of domestic violence. Now, those are only those served at non-victim service providers, just basically general service providers where victim of domestic violence happens to come in for services. VAWA agencies that are specialized in that are still prohibited from being in HMIS. Now, we have implemented a number of security and privacy protocols enacted throughout the system to only allow those victims of domestic violence to be accessed and have their information seen by authorized persons. Those authorized persons are either managers. If you're an agency manager of the system, you do have pretty much global access to all clients in the system. The other authorized is for a regular user below agency manager to be able to access it, they must be directly on their caseload. So we kind of went over in the core features a lot of privacy and security actions that case managers might have to come to you for. So please be aware that, when those situations come up, you're going to have to kind of take a look at the situation and make a decision on which direction you want to proceed with. Finally, every client is required to enter an initial domestic violence assessment that's new in the system to basically denote whether they're a victim of domestic violence or whether they're no or not, and basically the security provisions will be enacted depending on those settings. Just wanted a quick note about that. Some intake methodology. System has evolved to collect not just homeless programs. The system basically was geared around HUD-based program data collection and all the data elements associated with that. We're trying to evolve the system to not only collect data still for HUD requirements, but also open it up to collect data associated specifically just to the client. Basically data collection more client-based for multiple things of outreach tracking, collaborative referrals, eligibility determination. It's kind of hard process when a person comes into your agency to know immediately off the bat whether they're going to receive a program or not, but you want to collect some of that information, and the system allows that partial collection through profiles and also the assessment stuff within the system. Permission to enter in client data in the HMIS is implied and requires no written or verbal consent as long as each agency has a privacy policy which denotes that. We'll talk about that a little bit in the next slide. That kind of details their data collection processes and intents. The collaborative consent form, client consent form, has been changed basically to support the new data sharing policy and settings within the system. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. We have enacted true data sharing, so these client consent forms are becoming very important now. They're not required until an actual global setting policy is entered, which is required before an enrollment. It's not required just to put a person into the system. It is required for those additional steps. Any old client consent form, once the system is released, basically we're looking for a December 12th release. Those old client consent forms are no longer valid. Throw them away. They're not going to be any good. From this point on, you have to use the new client consent forms. And again, it is one of those things where it's start using it now going forward. We're not going to require you to go back and collect new forms on every single client you've had in the past. Now, if that client comes back in and wants to change their sharing policy, that's when it needs to be used, or a brand new client needs to be used there as well. And as we said, all agencies are required to post a privacy notice for their data collection reasons. And kind of might be a little known fact here, but we just want to expound upon that a little bit. Privacy policies are required to be in effect for every agency, every partner agency in the system, to inform clients about the uses and disclosures of their personal data and to protect the agency by establishing standard practices for this use and disclosure of that data. Basically, you're collecting personal data. Those clients have the right and need the notice of what you're going to do with that data. Each agency must post a sign at each intake or comparable location, as well as on your website if you have one, explaining the reasons for the data collection. It's basically a short little list saying, hey, this is where we're going to collect the data. If you're going to do implied or inferred consent, it must be included in this privacy policy and posting, as well as every notice or posting needs to make sure that every client knows that you have a privacy policy and it's available upon request.
I'll jump in here. This is something that, because we weren't sharing data before, we collected the data sharing forms literally because HUD required it. But as you all know, they were pretty pointless. Now that we can and will be sharing data, those client consent forms become uber important, as well as the privacy policies that that your agency is required to have. Now, this is something that we haven't really focused on in the past, again, because of data sharing, but we will need to start focusing more on in the future. A lot of you probably already have privacy policies in place that maybe just need to be tweaked or updated. Maybe you just don't know you have them. However, for the scope of data collection in HMIS specifically, you do need to have some language about what is done with that data. Now, DCED, we've developed a privacy policy. We've developed policies and standard operating procedures that all of you should download and keep at your desks. But we did develop a specific privacy policy that governs how data is used once it enters a system, and also governs how me and Brian and Steve, what we are and are not allowed to do with this data on your behalf and on the client's behalf. We do have a sample privacy policy posting, the sign that you're required to have at your intake location. We do have a sample in there that you guys can certainly use. The policies themselves, though, because many of you work with different funders that are outside of DCED's jurisdiction, or maybe you have specific concerns just for your demographic of people, your privacy policies should include, obviously, your full scope. So we didn't want to, obviously you can use our privacy policy as a sample and tweak it to apply more directly to your agency, but don't forget when you are talking with your legal departments or your executive directors that your privacy policies don't only include HMIS stuff that you may have extra concerns there. So I did want to to bring this up. We're not going to be beating down your door necessarily, but we will start focusing on this more. We will start contacting people. We will start asking for copies of your privacy policies. But isn't that something that I want you to freak out about and panic? But it is required. It is required by HUD. It's required by the state, and it's something that theoretically should already be in place. And we realize that it's probably not, but it could be. But we will certainly help you guys with this.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Now we're going to move along to assessments. Just a quick introduction. One of the large changes we did make in the system is released basically a new way of collecting those program-specific data elements, how they're collected and maintained. Basically, they put to the forefront of the system, collectively now called assessments. Basically, the 6 basic assessment groups of health, income, employment, education, income and benefits, and, of course, the new domestic violence status. Are still, of course, collected in conjunction to program stays as required by HUD. But as we talked about during the methodology, how we're opening up the system to have more data collected directly associated with just the client outside of a program, all this information can be directly entered in the system and kind of referred to as what we call a general assessment. And they can be used for other processes like referrals and collaboratives, also sucked into programs, that sort of thing. All assessments also entered into the system, past, present, and future, are only located within the assessment section of each client profile. Basically moved all the assessments there. Even if you enter, an income assessment for a program in the program and services area, it's not going to be found there. It's going to be in the assessment area of each client and labeled specifically of how it got collected and where, as we went over in the core training. Just pretty big change there. Want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Client consent form, big global sharing change, kind of went over most of this. Global data sharing is now truly into the system. It's very important that whatever is recorded on the collaborative client consent form must also be recorded correspondingly in the system. Can broadcast some, none. We have a whole bunch of sharing options that allow a lot of flexibility with what each client needs to be shared. Need to be familiar with these new consent forms, what the new rules are, sit down with these clients and explain the new process and what they can do and can't do in the system. Okay, those are the kind of the high points of what we went through in the other classes. I don't want to, hopefully everybody was there. Don't want to rehash them too much. Now we're going to go into kind of the client management utility section. A lot of these, probably about 2 or 3 of these are already there. Still want to go over them just to make sure everybody has a refresher for any new agency managers we have there. We have some caseload utilities that basically, when we said caseload stuff, basically every client can have a client directly assigned to them and they're put on their caseload. It's one that they directly work with. Agency managers have the ability to go into every client profile. There's basically a user list there where they can assign and unassign users to this client within their agency. Provides a lot of flexibility. You can assign multiple client users to it if, say, the client's in multiple programs and need to be administered and work with multiple people, as well as if the client is gone and exited out of the system for many months, they're not working with them anymore, you can remove all of the users associated. Basically, the client's not associated to anybody and get it off, kind of a way to clean up people's caseload so they don't have, tens and hundreds of clients on their caseload, so it's actually relevant and useful. We also have a standalone caseloading tool. You can do it kind of a onesie, one at a time thing within the profiles. Also, a caseload tool is available. When you click on it, basically gives you a big utility where you can do a whole bunch of removing, transferring, sharing clients. It all evolves around basically a single client. Basically, you select the client you want to work with within your agency. Say a client has, 20 people on their caseload that are gone. You want to get rid of all of them, kind of clean up their caseload for them. You select the client. System automatically fills up their caseload, basically displays all the clients on their caseload. Could be 5 people. We've seen some caseloads with, 20 pages of clients, hundreds of clients. You can basically select each individual one and do specific options with it, like remove them from the person's caseload. It also has all the active users in the system that allows you for any select person to either transfer them, which basically means it's going to completely move from one user to another, or even share them, which means it's going to remain on the original person's, and you're just adding a new user to that caseload. A lot of functionality here. We also have a check entire caseload. Maybe a user has left your agency, but they still have a big caseload. You can click this box and hit remove, and basically all those clients will be taken off those person's caseload. There's a lot of flexibility there from more of a user management standpoint, and that's been in the system for a little while.
One important thing to remember about this Caseload Utility, because of the ability now to collect domestic violence victim data in the system that are not served specifically by victim service providers, this caseload is going to become more important because if a user stumbles across a domestic violence victim in the system that is not on their caseload, they're not going to be able to do anything with that client. They won't even be able to see the data. Only people who have domestic violence victims on their caseload, which means they've created the person as a domestic violence victim, or agency managers will be able to see the information for those DV victims. So it is possible that a user may need to come to you and say, hey, I'm working with somebody here. There's a domestic violence person in this household, or I've come across a domestic violence victim for some reason. I need to work with them. Can I have permission to do that? If you determine that they should be able to have that permission, this tool is what you need to use to look up that client and explicitly add them to that user.
Thank you. The next tool that we're going to go and look at is the client merge tool. Hopefully everybody's fairly aware of this tool. It basically provides the ability, it's a pretty dynamic and flexible tool to basically merge duplicate clients in the system. Now, we put a lot of things in the system to prevent duplicates, but we're still going to keep this standalone tool around. You know, mistakes happen, duplicates get put into the system to basically take care of those problems. Now, when you click on this tool, basically, it'll basically bring up a search area that allows you to search for the duplicates you're looking for. When they come up into this area, basically, and this is all kind of one of the reasons why it's only available for agency managers, it does take a little bit of recognition to select the specific duplicates. The system doesn't, I guess, point out the duplicates for you. And we actually did create a new kind of advanced client duplication process that we introduced in the core class that we're going to talk about a little bit later that does allow users to do that, but on a more focused basis, I guess. Basically, you come in here, take a look at which ones are duplicates, and basically you check the ones you want to merge. It could be 2 people, it could be 3 duplicates or 4 duplicates. Once you're happy with the ones you want to do, you basically hit this display merge info button, and that kind of starts the whole merge process. Again, this is a very judgment-based process. The system doesn't have any validation. It leaves it up to you. So be careful when you do this, because once merges happen, they're permanent. And it also, like I said, no validation. So in a sense, if you wanted to merge a Bob Smith with a Jim Jones, it will let you do that, even though, of course, that's very, very, very not recommended. Once you begin the process, there's kind of 2 different ways to look at it. There's kind of a single client merge, as well as we've kind of talked about the merging process. If they're in households with people, you can't really just merge the client together, and we'll kind of get into that multiple merge process as well, and that's one of the reasons why it's so involved, merging different people. But if it is just a single client, there's just 2 individuals in the system, it'll basically bring up and show, hey, these are the people that you selected, and what it does is it kind of merges them, uses kind of some basic logic to provide you with the, hey, this is what the system thinks is the best possible data. And it uses a little algorithm between, you know, the most complete data plus the most recent data, and it kind of throws it into this grid area that allows you to change it if it's different. Now, if all the information, as you can see here, everything matches across the board, it basically grays everything out and says, hey, these, you know, both of you guys are exactly the same. The system will kind of take it from here, and we'll show you if information is different, the system actually allows you to choose which data element you think is the best possible match. Once you're done, you basically hit confirm merge. The system, of course, always will give you one last little prompt to say, hey, are you sure this is pretty much can't be undone? Once you do that, hit the save merge. It'll basically merge that client into a single profile, kind of merging all this information, and it's kind of been updated with all the new stuff that we put out there, any program they have, any assessment information they've had, any inventory information they've had, referrals, waitlist transactions, all of that is going to be combined and associated into that single client profile. So we take a lot of time to make sure that no data is lost during this process. Now, as we talked about, basically it also is a household-based process. So once it does this initial merge of the single client, the system kind of takes a look at each client and goes, hey, does this person have any household members associated with them? If they're singles, you're done with the process. However, if it does notice household members, it will also need to look through the system, and basically it'll try to merge any of those household people as well. Because a lot of certain cases, you know, if the persons are duplicated and they're attached to households, odds are the whole households are duplicated as well, and we don't want to leave those people out there and have you to merge all of them individually. So we want to take care of it in all one fell swoop. So if that happens, you basically get a message that says, hey, you know, you're attempting to merge a household with multiple members, and it basically shows you, says, hey, these are the people that we've noticed that are in that household, and we're basically going to go look through the system and find those duplicates to basically allow you to go through the process one at a time. And it'll kind of almost a looping process through each household member. As you see here, it kind of starts, here's Jessica and Jenny, so it basically starts with the next person. Here's Jessica. It shows you all the duplicates that it found in the system, and then basically gives you the best possible record. And as you see here, because the information is a little bit different with the eye color, you know, it's not sure what the information is, it basically provides you with the ability to select from the drop downs of all the information on the different client profiles. Once you select it, if you do change that information, you just hit Update Merge Record. It'll refresh this master information and say, hey, this is the basic client profile information that's going to be created. And then if there's existing ones, you basically hit Merge Next Member, and it'll basically loop you through this process until every single household member is complete. Kind of take care of it in one fell swoop. Now, if it is a household process, the system will basically prompt you with the household name, if there's multiple household names, to kind of give you the ability to select which one. Now, of course, after the process, you can always go back and rename the household to whatever you like. You know, once they're merged, it's basically like they're, you know, brand new clients in the system. Once that's done, basically the system will provide you with one last, in a household base, kind of like one last, here's what the final merge is going to look like, here's all their data elements, and then, of course, makes you go through a final confirmation stage. Hey, you're sure you want to do this? Again, once people are merged, they're merged. There's really no way to unmerge them after that fact. So it's a really good utility, and I think a lot of people have really taken advantage of that in the system, especially with our transition from the old way of collecting things in site buckets to the new one client profile per agency. A lot of people have cleaned up their data that way. Now, I want to talk about something that we highlighted, or actually went over in pretty decent detail in the core feature class. Currently, in the system as it is right now before the release, we only have duplicate checking basically when the client is created, and that's because we basically collect everything up front. We've got enough information to find it. Now with the ability to create partial profiles, a lot of times, or in certain circumstances, we're not going to have enough data to really identify properly any duplicates in the system. So anytime a name, a date of birth, a social security number, or a gender are either entered for the first time or changed on the client profile, the system does a duplicate client check and basically takes those pieces of information, searches your agency, and tries to find matches. If it doesn't, you're fine, you move along. However, if it does, it performs one of three things. Basically, if it has a full exact match, basically the system will automatically merge that client, take care of that with you. And as we kind of talked about, it's not only a client thing, it's a household thing. So there's logic in there to take care of the household as well. And the one thing that we wanted to kind of bring up here is with if it's not an exact match, but the system has two ways of flagging clients. Basically, there's a full match or a possible match. And it also provides a link to a client merge tool. So whenever a client is full matched, and that basically means it finds someone else in the system with the same name and the same 9-digit social security number, you'll basically, users or anybody entering data will get this message here with a client merge tool here. Possible matches are basically anybody with the same name and or same date of birth or gender. They kind of get this message here. Now, at that point in time, users who aren't privy to the client merge tool, because it kind of allows the open merging of everybody. So we kind of want to develop something that users could have access to, that when you click on this client merge tool, it takes them basically to the client merge tool. Instead of being open, it only provides them with the duplicates of the client. So it kind of provides them with a limited access to this tool. And the reason I want to bring this up is, we didn't really train as much on the actual merge process. It's pretty intuitive. It takes, we kind of explain it, walks people through the process of, selecting the best possible data and kind of going through the process if they're household-based. But this is more of a manager feature, and you guys are more familiar with it. So until users get used to this process, they might come to you for questions. And once you click on that merge tool, it works exactly like the merge tool we showed you before, except instead of you selecting the clients, the system selects the clients. That's why we wanted to just kind of mention this during this process, because it is something new that your users are going to come across in their data collection travels.
If you haven't figured it out yet, we are trying to really split apart the roles for everyday users versus managers. We don't want agency managers getting bogged down with every possible little thing. We want the users to be able to do a lot of this information on their own, however, keep it controlled so that you guys can focus on more actual agency manager-ish kind of things.
Now, within the standalone tune, we always have what we call the duplicate client report. You can run it at any time. Basically provides full and possible matches. Basically, the matches will be here. If they have, basic algorithm, same social security number or name, date of birth, gender matches. We actually recommend running it any time just to see how your agency is looking. I also want to show that kind of conjunction, if an intake worker comes up and says, hey, I have this client merge tool, you have this report that you can run basically to provide you with a little bit more information before you take on work with them on the task. Hopefully, like Dan said, trying to split the roles, hopefully after a while they'll become self-sufficient with being able to do these merges instead of putting them all on agency manager personnel. Client delete tool, that's basically been in the system for a while. A lot of people like it and use it. It's available for pretty much all users. Clients should only be deleted or removed. They've been mistakenly entered or duplicated, not because they finished or exited their agency or program. I think everybody's got that distinction. As with a lot of the functionality of the merges and everything, once a client is deleted, they're pretty much gone forever. Cannot be retrieved, so please use this tool with care. Still provided within the tool sections, again, available for all users. You basically enter in search information, find the people that you find that you're looking to delete. You select them, and then the system does, because it is a permanent process, actually makes you go through about 4 or 5 screens of, hey, you sure this is the guy? You sure this is the guy? So you should be really sure of who you're deleting. And then when you get to the end of the process, it pretty much resets the process for you to do again. One new tool that we have released into the system and is available for agency managers is a data export tool. Finally, we've gotten that into the system. Provides a tool to export an agency's data out in a CSV format. It can be exported in a number of different formats. When clicking on this tool, it kind of brings you to an intermediate screen where you can export data for all programs, or you can select a specific program, and basically it exports a plethora of information about client information, program information, inventory site. It's got about yeah, I think about 9 or 10 different CVS extracts that basically for all the information. And it also provides a configurable date range to send out that data. We basically wrote it to conform specifically to the HUD's latest CSV format, version 3.2. So it can be sent out to, I don't know, other systems that use it. And it was basically developed for our SSVF people. They actually, and also in conjunction with some of our, as we bring VA-funded people on board, basically they require extracts on a monthly basis to be sent up to the VA repository, that sort of thing. So this is one of the main reasons that actually can thank those people for why it got in there, but everybody can use it and is available for that. We are planning to look into an XML release as well, but that's planned for the future.
This is actually a really perfect example of the reason for each agency needing a privacy policy, and this is also why we've limited this feature to agency managers. The privacy policy that DCD developed covers PA-HMIS. We can't presume to speak for each agency. This is something that your agency's privacy policy would need to cover. What happens with data from HMIS once it's put into a different electronic format or even printed out, a paper format, something that DCD's privacy policy can't control. So this is stuff, when you export data from the system, please be careful. It'll be a very useful tool for you, but it will have extremely sensitive information on it, so don't just, willy-nilly hand it out to everybody.
Yeah, good point, good point. Okay, that about does it. Just got a couple documentation housekeeping notes. Everybody hopefully is aware of our website, www.newpa.com/PAHMIS. It's got a ton of information, can also be found within our gold action menu. Just click on the link. It's got a whole bunch of publication, documentation, training libraries, hopefully by the system release. It's not up there now, but by the system release, which we are planning December 12th. It's a Wednesday. We hope to have it up that afternoon. That's when all these new features will be in there. We're going to have the client consent forms, the new system user, all of our privacy policies, agency participation agreements up there by that time. They're not up there yet. I want to make sure everybody understands that. Hopefully it'll be up there soon. We always talk about the feature guides. There's just so much that we've added to the system. We put out a whole bunch of pages of feature guides that we've gone over in other trainings. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of them. They'll be up there hopefully as soon as possible, by the release. Broken down into these basic areas. Definitely take a look at those for specific areas of interest. And that pretty much does it. Takes care of the agency management training.